So you'll have another 30 seconds to wrap up your conversation before we move on to the next question and rotate tables again. Okay, let's come back together as a whole group. Once again, I'll give you another opportunity to rotate to a new table. And after you do so, then you'll discuss whether you've heard anyone say the statements that are listed on this slide. You'll discuss, have you ever heard anyone say, I didn't mean anything by it? Or, why are you being so sensitive? Or, look, I'm a good person, therefore I cannot be racist. Or maybe you've heard, things have always been like this. What's the big deal? Some additional ones that I don't have on this slide, but that I heard during the morning session were things like, get over it. That was a long time ago. So again, I'll give you 1 minute to rotate to a new table. And then after you do so, I want you to discuss whether or not you've heard those things. How did you react to those things? And what potential impact do questions like that or statements like that have on the person experiencing racism? So you have another 30 seconds to wrap up your conversation before we move on to the next set of questions. Okay, so let's come back together as a whole group. Thank you. In District 203, we talk a lot about mindfulness. So it might not be surprising that I'm incorporating mindful inquiry into today's discussion. Mindful inquiry relies on emphasizing learning through the experience of the present moment. Sometimes we need the right language to help us engage in courageous conversations in the moment. The preceding slides asked, have you ever heard anyone say, and went on to list statements that could be dismissive of someone's lived experience. Here are some words that you can use to better engage the person who is not being sensitive to the experiences of others. You can say something like, what I heard you say was, and then repeat their statement. Is that what you meant? Or, tell me more about what you meant by, and repeat their statement. This gives the person a chance to reflect on their statement and possibly self-correct. So now you'll remain at your tables, and I want you to take the next 5 minutes or so to talk about these courageous conversation starters. Okay, so let's come back together as a whole group. So now we'll have an opportunity to discuss and share out with everyone in the room. So I ask, is there anyone who is daring greatly to share out about how you're feeling about the courageous conversations about race that you just had? So we have Jackie, if you can wave your hand. She has a microphone. So if you're interested in speaking out, please raise your hand. And let us know what you expected at the start of this discussion, throughout the discussion, and then how you're feeling afterwards. Or just generally what you learned.
Stand up. Can you repeat the question again?
So I'm just asking for you to share about your experience this evening. Like, what did you expect at the start of the discussions? What did you think about what was discussed throughout and during the discussions? And then how are you feeling now after we've concluded?
Okay, well, one of the beginning of the discussions is how you're like a member of 203 and your experiences. And I just wanted to say that this new with Buffalo Wild Wings or the Central incident is not new for here. It's been going down the line for me in 203. I've been here since kindergarten. One of the elementary schools I went to was Meadow Glens, and there was a lot of racism for me in there. A lot of the principals aimed a lot of their aggression and racism towards me, and at the time I didn't understand because I was so little, and I thought it was my fault of the color of my skin, or that the other students didn't want to play with me because of the way I looked, or I wasn't smart enough, or I wanted to be a lighter complexion to what I was. And now, as the years went by, going to Washington, I endured the same sufferings. And now I feel like I'm older and I'm more mature, and now I can speak about how you can't change racism, but you can try to. And I think that now I have a voice, and I feel like it's important for me to share what's going on in the 203 community.
Thank you for using your voice. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share out with the whole group?
Hi. Whenever I get a microphone, I feel the need to yell, so I won't. My name is Quandra Drummer. This is my husband, Demetrius. And I wanted to thank you and all of the district staff for putting on this program. We have 6 children in the district, and we have a child here. We have 1 at Washington, 3 at Ellsworth, and 1 at Ann Reed. I came here tonight angry, disappointed, frustrated. I still have all of those feelings, but I met some great people, and I heard some wonderful stories. A lot of people shared some happy stories, some sad stories, and some people fed into me some things that I can take home. I'm still angry, frustrated, and disappointed, but their stories will help me to fight another day so that I will try again tomorrow. I think that the program you put on tonight is needed. There needs to be a lot more like these. I don't want you to stop what you're doing. We had a conversation last week, and I just called to tell you thank you for what you're doing, because I'm not sure, but I imagine you may get a lot of angry parents calling you, and I just wanted to be a parent to call and say thank you. So again, I'm going to tell you thank you for what you're doing. I can't imagine what your job is like, and so again, in front of everyone, I say thank you for what you're doing, because it is needed. It's very much needed. I'll end on the note that for the things that my family is dealing with as far as the district is concerned, I'm very angry, frustrated, and disappointed, and it's not right on any level. But the families tonight gave me something to fight another day. I should not have to. I should not have to give my kids thicker skin, but that's the reality that we live with being a black family in Naperville. So I want to thank the families who shared because you all gave me something I needed to get my 6 very slow-moving children up tomorrow to get them to school. So I thank the families more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Um, Hi, my name is Elijah Harris. Um, so I came here to hear what everybody had to say about the situation and what happened at Central, and because I found out today about what happened at Central and the incident at Buffalo Wild Wings. So I I can relate to it because in 8th grade I went to Washington Junior High, and I went through racial profiling. Um, they sent me um, memes of KKK, a burning cross, and Kermit the Frog hanging himself. Um, it was hurtful, and I moved schools because of it. Um, so came here to see what everybody had to say and hear their stories about it, and um, see if I was the only one, and if anybody had anything else to say about what their kids went through, and what they went through. And I learned a lot about what happened, and that it's not just me. It's it's the people who does it to the one they are racist to. Because I used to think that it was something I did, something that I caused, but today I realized that they're just mean. So yeah.
It's always powerful to hear directly from students. It makes it real. It reminds us why this work is so incredibly important. Thank you for sharing your story, and know that it's not you. That we really have to work with all students and really think about how to get others to see the hurt, the pain, and the impact that these types of actions have on others, especially people who are from vulnerable, marginalized groups, people of color. So thank you so much for sharing. Is there anyone else? I think we have time for another one.
Yeah. I would like to thank the school district for arriving at this point. It's unfortunate that it perhaps takes a crisis for communities like ours to have a gathering like this. On the 21st of May 2018, I had written a letter to the school administration here at 203. I have a daughter who is a sophomore at Ohio State now. I have a freshman who is here, and I have an 8th grader who is at Kennedy. My daughter was on the track team, and it was interesting to see the idea of implicit bias on the folder tonight. The letter I wrote on that day, on the 21st of May 2018, I thought merited at least a response from the administration, from which I never heard from the principal, not the superintendent of the school. And it was something that deeply, deeply affected my daughter, who was a captain on the team, on the track team, had taken the team down to state, had helped win state, but there were some underlying issues that I thought needed to have been addressed. Now, the coach wrote back to me. Not a single person from the administration did. I had never brought a closure to that. I didn't tell my daughter I wrote that letter until after a year. I knew exactly how she would feel because she trusted most of the adults around. I think communities that are going to grow and develop and emerge as inclusive communities do not wait for crisis to have a moment like this.
Okay, so we do have time for one more.
My name is Neil Samuels. I had no expectations when I came in. The topic interests me. It always has. What struck me is I do organizational consulting around organizational change, and I believe change happens one conversation at a time, no matter what kind of change you're talking about. And I had 15, 18 different conversations with people I would never have spoken with in the past. And I think what this is calling for now for me and for us is to go out and have these conversations with people who are unlike us. We're here because we care about this issue. We know about this issue. It's relevant to us. Guess what? There are people who see the world differently. What can we do to stay engaged in those conversations, no matter how difficult they may be, honoring this kind of inquiry, generous listening, to really understand their perspective? You just might change somebody's mind, and I know exactly the person I'm going to have that conversation with because I've avoided it. Because I think he's a racist, white supremacist, conspiracy theorist, and I just might be able to get to him a little bit. But I'm not going to shy away from that conversation anymore, and I encourage us all to do the same going out, because that's the only way we're going to change it.
So thank you all for sharing and being daring greatly to share your vulnerabilities and as well as your experiences, both in your small group discussions and those of you who shared out. So before we part, I ask each person at your tables to just share one word to describe how you're feeling after participating in today's discussion. So I'll just give you a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll close out. Okay, so we'll come back together. And again, I want to thank you all for daring greatly and engaging in this critical discussion about race to help us grow together as a community. My contact information is on this slide. Let me turn to the slide. My contact information is on this slide if any of you would like to reach out to me directly. Again, thank you for your time and your vulnerability.